don't be fooled by the percent win rate that we see over there. There's a reason why this champion has been first picked basically every time it's been open, ever since we saw it in the very first game of the group stage, and everyone was like, what's Damwon doing? As it turned out, everyone is now going for the cat. And I do really like the response here. I think the main issue that TL are now running into is that they need to do something that we saw T1 do, which is actually dealing proactively with the Yuumi. Just trying to get a nice 2v2, it doesn't work. You need to do more, you need to devote a lot of resources. And if you look at what TL traditionally does, it's not necessarily playing towards that bot lane, it's letting CoreJJ roam up.
It's the Yuumi Ezreal too, which is so terrifying to deal with, not only in lane, but of course later on in the game. But it is somewhat fragile. And yes, you do leave open the Lissandra counter pick here for Icon with this LeBlanc pick, and that's going to be great in lane. It's going to be great in some straight up 5v5 team fights. But I do think Burst is one of the best answers we have seen to the Yuumi so far. If you can actually lock down whoever she's attached to and blow them up, that healing power and that speed isn't going to matter as much. So I do really like LeBlanc in answer, and it is of course Jensen's most successful champion of the tournament thus far.
Yeah. Now we're thinking about a Tristana. So
hey, this is good.
We're going to lock that one in, and yeah, I like this one. And when you're trying to, use your you and me and getting onto your teammates, you get a buster shot to the face. It's going to be a really bad time.
I really like this because it does two things. One, there's the infamous Tristana level 2 all-in, the pressure spike we all know and love. But secondly, Tristana is an absolute menace when left alone for a split second with a turret, right? Due to her explosive shots, she can both push waves very fast and get herself a lot of plates. And something that we've also seen a lot, and that I'd want to do if I was LNG, is put Lwandy on Tarzan. Tarzan has been one of the cleanest junglers I feel at Worlds, always in the right place at the right time, and bolstered by a Yuumi, he can have even more impact.
Yeah, and I think that Viego is such a huge pickup here for LNG as well, if they can potentially get it. I'm looking towards Team Liquid to ban that one away here on the second opportunity, because it synergizes so beautifully. We've seen, the frozen thralls that you get out when, kills come through on the Lissandra only get even worse with that Viego as an option. So
and I
see
think
what the ban is.
I think it's definitely a strong option to ban here. They've already banned away the Talon, which we've seen a lot of success with Yuumi so far here in Worlds. So see what they end up banning. I also like this Gangplank ban quite a bit because it gives you the opportunity to have power in topside no matter what, basically, while you're also pushing with Tristana because you have that global ultimate. So that is a really terrifying champion to face. It also could mean that looking towards something like a Gnar here, or more of a slower topside push here for Ale, which isn't really his style and hasn't been his style in Worlds. The Camille's removed here, but I'd love to see LNG take a different, slower approach to this draft, considering they have the Yuumi already and the Ezreal. They banned the Gnar, actually.
Grave's still open. I also wouldn't mind. I also wouldn't mind the Viego pick, as you pointed out. But I do think that's important to note with the amount of top laners that have gotten banned, which is 6. Already of course flexible, but also does work quite nicely as a top laner into the right matchups. But the Graves, that has, I think, been one of the strongest picks in the tournament. We saw even with some over-aggression that it actually worked out very well. And yeah, TL, pick it up. And I think that's the right call.
Yeah. Going towards either the jungle or the top side of the map. Santorin could theoretically be playing this one, so still a bit of flexibility available for Team Liquid. But now LNG, to round out their composition, I'm thinking Viego and something that deals with Graves okay for the top lane.
Also still open.
The Gwen's really strong. The Kiana is another option that you have that works extremely well with that Yuumi. We know that Tarzan can played it a ton in play-ins, so definitely something he could pull out here. Would love to see it. And it obviously could be Gwen in the jungle, but very unlikely.
I think it has to be Viego.
The Viego
is so strong right now and in this comp.
And we've seen that if you make a mistake, even with these high mobility compositions, or champions rather, like the LeBlanc, you can get punished. We saw it yesterday in big time there with the Viego stuns actually locking down that LeBlanc. So definitely something to be a little bit careful playing around here. This composition does so well in the late game. It has side lane pressure, decent damage output with the Ezreal later on.
And I was wondering whether we were going to see the Jarvan, even though I don't really like it. It is something that a lot of teams have heavily prioritized. I do think the Trundle was nice. The main thing about the TL comp to me here is that it does what you need to do against the Yuumi comp, which is blow up one target very, very fast, right? And you need to do that because the moment you give even over a single kill to the LNG comp, you've lost it. As you pointed out, Atlus, we have seen this combo a lot of times already. The Viego combined with the Lissandra, a single kill means resets for Viego. It means that the zombies come through, and that combined with the Yuumi means that in extended fights, I don't see TL having a shot, but the burst and playmaking potential is definitely there.
Yeah, and we heard Ezreal talking about it as well, about the fact that he wanted Santorin on more of these bruises. Trundle, he directly mentioned, and we've got, of course, VODS back at home. Absolutely in love with Trundle at the moment as well.
Yeah.
Just in general, feels like he's underrepresented here at Worlds, and we'll see whether Santorin can demonstrate his power, even in a meta that does seem to have a lot more damage coming out of the jungle. I agree. I actually think that the Trundle is a little bit underutilized so far, but let's see whether Team Liquid can prove that.
Yeah, one of the cool things about this Viego pick too, coming through for Tarzan, is that the champions that you steal, actually, when you do end up getting a reset in these team fights, are so great in a skirmish. Like, you have so much explosive damage here. A lot of times when you get the Viego steal, you're like, well, it depends on the stats, and I can't use that ultimate. But actually, you're talking about Tristana, LeBlanc, Graves in a fight like this, you end up getting that Trundle in one of those early fights. Like, there is so much power in this Viego, specifically against what TL is running. So squishy outside of that Trundle pick in the front.
But in saying that, Wolf, you're also saying that Team Liquid have a lot of tools in the early game in order to skirmish.
Yes, and to blow up these Yuumi attached targets.
Yeah, and they don't even need to possess themselves in order to do it. They already are themselves, so it's absolutely fine.
They are themselves. Are they really though?
Yeah, I feel like we're getting a little bit existential here very, very early on in this game. As just some early vision going down here defensively, mostly on the side of LNG, just to make sure that Tarzan's going to have the best time possible.
Like the item choice here from Icon, we've seen some Aftershock Lissandra do really prefer the burst that is available as Jensen. Going to just control a little bit of vision. Of course, the knowledge of that water will be there. And I do think that Tarzan did indeed switch to a sweeper, but that's still going to give a lot of intelligence over to Team Liquid, and it's going to be CoreJJ and Santorin, right? Like the early levels, I think the Trundle has a really good matchup into the Viego, just due to the power that Chomp has, combined with the W as well. The one downside I do think of the Trundle is his pillar is incredibly strong, but if you look at the LNG comp, outside of Tarzan, most people can kind of negate the impact that the pillar has, right? There's a lot of dashes available, a lot of mobility. So I want to see CoreJJ and Santorin use the early game power that you have with that Rell, with that Trundle, to try and get a tactical or Jensen had earlier.
Yeah. I do like that Icon has gone for the Electrocute, wanting to deny that subjugate value that Santorin would have otherwise got a lot of. And of course, nerfed for the exact reason of Lissandra existing, right?
Yeah.
The Aftershock, so Icon not going to fall into that trap.
See
Still do see it from a lot of our Lissandras.
See how much opportunity is found here on the bottom side of the map, because Light, I feel like, was a little bit of a liability often for LNG back in the LPL in terms of positioning and sometimes going into proper, or rather improper 2v2s in the bottom side there. So we'll see if he ends up playing well, because obviously the early game in this 2v2 is going to be fairly vulnerable for that Yuumi and Ezreal. And if they ever leave and there's a slow fight elsewhere on the map, that's when those turret plates are going down, right? Like you were talking about Cronicler in the draft.
Yeah. Plus, Tactical has been instrumental to this team as well. Currently does about 30% of Team Liquid's damage in their games.
Highest damage share AD carry in groups so far.
Yeah, and it's a stat that we were actually looking for, not for Tactical. And then we found out that it was him. We're like, oh, all right. Well, speaking of all right, Santorin's going to flash on forward, and Icon is really dead. The last auto attack's going to pick that one up, and Jensen grabs first blood. Great news for the North American representatives.
Perfect. This is what we want to see. You're a level 3 troll, run into that mid lane. Jensen sets it up beautifully, and this is exactly what you want. We already talked, if LNG can just coast to a relatively stable mid game, you know, maybe look for a nice pick with Icon and Tarzan blowing someone up at the start of a skirmish, fights become incredibly hard. But if you feed these people on Team Liquid that can isolate a target and load them up quickly, it's going to become a lot harder.
CoreJJ flashing in, Tactical jumping out. Oh no, a little bit of a disconnect there. As Lwandy went down extraordinarily low. Now Tarzan looking to capitalize. CoreJJ down to 100 light. Just needs to land another Q, but CoreJJ getting a lot of space here. He's down so low, but they can't kill him. The greatest escape from CoreJJ.
And so many summoners burned for this as well. Tarzan uses his flash. Icon used his flash earlier.
There are no flashes on LNG.
Yeah, none whatsoever. You've lost both summoners as a Lwandy here as well, and you know, you just get to walk out right now as tactical. You keep your flash, you keep your cleanse, you're farm, and you're fine.
It was all a bait. It was coordinated. That was no miscommunication. That was a bait, and of course, mistakes happen, but at the end of it, it is actually Team Liquid that benefits more, right? Like LNG go really hard in an attempt to get the kill on Core, and they're not able to.
Oh man, it's going so well. Now we can talk to you about Team Liquid taking on Mad Lions in our 4th matchup of the day, in our featured matchup presented by Mercedes-Benz.
It's a big one.
Especially if Team Liquid come off a win against LNG right here. If that happens, oh my goodness. That match is going to be absolutely
Let's not get ahead of ourselves,
gigantic.
though.
Yes, it's 4.5 minutes into the game. It's infectious what they've been serving over there as far as getting all of our hopes up. I think there's a name for it.
We could go.
I won't say
or
it.
We could talk about Alphari.
Let's do that.
Without getting the shred of resource, he's doing what he's been doing to many a top, both domestically and also thus far at Worlds, and just find leads out of seemingly nowhere. And of course, I do think that early on the Gwen is going to get bullied around in this matchup, but I think that the consistent pressure that Alphari provides also enables TL to make plays like we saw there in mid, right? Like if you do know, we saw him go in early, get the prio, roam into the jungle, it makes LNG play a little bit more on the back foot.
And what's really cool about that too for this upcoming Rift Herald fight is that if you do end up having to fight a lot, spending a lot of resources, it means that Light will have to rotate up if you want to take that fight. We're going to see a skirmish here.
Yeah, in position, but Icon's still going to take a lot of damage here as Santorin doesn't have his flash available, but there's the flash forward from Jensen, gets the chains as Icon down too low. The Pillar of Filth comes in, but the trade will be there. Now the resets are coming in as Tarzan showing off some of his LeBlanc skills. They're pretty nice, but Santorin finds his way underneath the turret.
Look
he
at the
will
burst.
Be fine.
Look at the burst. When you have this many burst champions, especially LeBlanc, when you get that steal like I was talking about, you get to use all of that burst. You get a whole extra set of cooldowns of real big damage.
And I am happy to see there's no fear. Jensen just identifies the place and flashes. Yeah, it's a 1-for-1 trade, but again, if that kill goes over to the LeBlanc, I think you're going to be happy with that. And the key thing here, no 6 available for Icon. If he hits level 6, the frozen shoot makes this entire sequence of play impossible. But this flash is exactly the type of confidence that I think you need when you're Team Liquid. You cannot play afraid with this composition into what LNG had. You need to be quick, you need to be decisive, and when opportunities like that present themselves, you need to go all in on them, especially for NA that has had issues with identifying and then going for those until they're mathematically eliminated from the tournament. I'm very happy to see them go proactively for it.
Whoa, I wasn't ready.
I mean, Ezreal was kind of getting into it a little bit there earlier, but you've just taken the point to a next level.
I'm loving it.
Sorry, no, it's fine, and we appreciate your point. I wasn't ready. Wasn't prepared.
That's not a normal thing for Cronicler to say here.
Yeah.
It's not what we're used to, but look, I do feel like with the power you have, you've removed vision around the Drake now as Team Liquid, and yes, now that level 6 is hit for Icon, Jensen's a little bit more on the back foot. We're still able to get 2 kills in the early game, so a ton of extra gold going over to the LeBlanc here. And now as tactical, like it's a win-win scenario. If you know, you do see that rotation up from Light. It's going to be a tough rotation to make. It's going to be slow to the Herald, and you're going to get those plates. If you want to try to stop him and actually trade against him on the way over, you can block him from getting there. They're going to get what looks like a free Drake here with that extra prio. They have bottom as well. They cleared the vision on this moments ago. Santorin's like, okay, I'm taking this. This is a huge lead that TL have right now.
Okay, Alphari going to throw his collateral damage towards Ale. He did have his circle up. He wasn't. So he doesn't take damage. Yes. So indeed, immunity had been achieved. Cronicler has to be mentioned. It does. It certainly does. Another chain is going to land. Walking the Lissandra in the mid lane. Down to about 200 is Icon, but he's still going to be able to clear up the minions and move away. And speaking of clearing up the minions, he has approximately a 10 CS advantage, or at least did until those minions were cleared up by Jensen. So shout out to Icon, fallen down twice, but still able to come out ahead in farm.
And this is a really nice early gold lead for TL, and I'm happy that they also go for the Drake, because the key thing for me to snowballing this is continuously picking up those objectives as Tarzan does get spotted. Alphari.
Yeah, quick draw will be available.
Okay.
I think it'll be alright.
The other cool thing, well, Not done here yet. The other cool thing I was going to mention about that trade from Jensen in mid is that they knew that LNG were kind of grouped up. Okay, we lost Drake. We're going to try to take this Herald, but you take that much of Icon's health bar where they can't do it anymore. So Ollie, speaking of losing health bars, is going to go down to about half, and this is when you have to make the tough call right now as Light. Am I coming up? And he is going to actually stay. So it's actually going to be the rare case where the Tristana is coming up instead.
Yeah, Team Liquid do have first entrance to the river though, and with now Shelly down to about 50%. Should have control of the area. Tarzan now paired up with Lwandy. Do have summoner spells, but this will still just be secured. Team Liquid will be able to grab those at least 2 plates worth of gold off the back of it.
Really like the little play from Tactical there as well, faking that he was roaming up, and then he was sitting in the bot side rush, so that if Light would actually try and join the play for Herald, he would just jump on top of him,
he could all
blow him up in a second. And thus far, very measured early gameplay coming through, and especially with Tristana. I hope that we're going to see that Herald thrown down on bot, able to get those plates, as many as you possibly can before they drop, or possibly give them over to Jensen and try to further that gold lead on LeBlanc.
When you talk about regions that are known for fighting early and being aggressive in international tournaments, and of course domestically, the LPL is the region you think about. It's the region that always wants to fight, always wants to look for trades, always wants to be aggressive, but Team Liquid, the shoe's on the other foot in this game because they are looking for every single edge they can find, and now they've taken 2 early objectives here in the Infernal Drake and that Rift Herald, and have lost absolutely nothing for it.
Yep, the neutrals belong to Team Liquid at the moment. CoreJJ, though, is going to be found by Tarzan. A lot of damage to come through, but the crash down over the wall. CoreJJ is going to be absolutely fine. Teaming up with him as well, but it looks like Tarzan's prize is probably going to be this blue buff. This 2v2 is a little bit more dangerous with a horse that doesn't have very much health.
Yeah, also mind the huge wave that's gotten shoved in mid, so Icon can either roam or teleport, be on the play. No opportunity for Jensen, so nice capitalization there by LNG, picking up. And while we've been talking and praising TL, also mine, LNG isn't actually behind in terms of gold. Like, it's dead even, and you could argue that the gold is spread a little bit better. It's on TL, it's on the LeBlanc, who you want to be as fat as possible. But simultaneously, do keep in mind that the LNG comp still has a lot of innate power. Might be a problem.
Not too much more. Tarzan is going to be able to tidy up the Rift Scuttler. 2v2 here on the top side of the map. You talk about the gold being even. There is sort of inherent gold that Santorin does have in his back pocket, assuming Shelly is going to be used effectively.
True.
So it should be a slight advantage for TL, but right now, as it stands, it is about as even as it can be.
The question is, where does that get dropped? He is holding it on the top side of the map right now. The expectation is Tarzan would have rotated away. They will spot him here with this ward.
Yep, there's another pillar to go down. Ale taking so much damage. Gets out of his circle. Now Tarzan's going to get in position. The needle work, and Ale's now able to run away, but the Heartbreaker over the wall, and Tarzan will escape as well.
This is, I mean, a huge opportunity, assuming Icon doesn't come up. He has teleport available, and I think they might just drop this down here. I really would have expected the drop to be on the bottom side of the map, just considering how much power they already have there, but they're going to toss it here.
Yeah, teleport's going to come in as well as LNG. Wanting to try and defend this. There will be at least 1 charge. So a fair bit of money now available for TL. Still a couple of plates there towards the top side. Tarzan already down to 50%. Ale thinking about chasing, but that's some very healthy members of TL. And they will back away after grabbing that plate goal.
I do really like the defense there from LNG, making sure that there's not actually opportunity for a first turret bot, right? Because that play, TL, again, going very aggressively, which I like, are able to force Tarzan to ult out, force Ale to blow his sums and use his ultimate. But then on the flip side, just invest the teleport, make sure that you give over some plates, but you don't lose your turret goal. It's not like it makes Alphari get out of control. And this is what we talked about earlier. When left alone, even in a 1v1 with the Ezreal, Lwandy tries to roam to the top side to maybe assist in the play if TL do overextend, and the prize for that is a couple of plates given over to Tactical in the bot lane.
And more money to the Tristana is definitely a fantastic thing for Team Liquid.
Especially
be a big part of this division.
Yeah, especially consider how much Tactical has done for them on other champions so far this tournament. You know how valuable he's going to be in this composition. Is once again, Team Liquid tug of war with the vision here. This is actually slow measured play after a very small lead, right? I mean, this is Team Liquid not overextending, just taking small advantages, never overextending, never allowing LNG to take this crazy skirmish where maybe their composition actually bounces back because they do have a lot of power in this early game outside of the Ezreal. And I mean, this is the kind of thing you look at for Team Liquid and go, well, I think you're out-macroing LNG in a lot of ways here, which is not an expectation I had going into this game.
No, me neither. But LNG do have a lot of tools as the game goes on. As Icon's in so much trouble, Jensen looks for the autos. Frozen Tomb comes in. Icon's going to self-cast it, but there's the next round of spells, and Jensen gets the solo.
This is not supposed to happen. This is the counter matchup. And Jensen is just running circles around Icon every single time. You know, obviously, he wasn't alone in this particular case, but he's 3-1 now so far.
I saw what it said in the kill feed, and there was no other Icon there. That was the solo kill. Yeah. He was alone.
Yeah, no, it was CoreJJ, not time to actually Reddit didn't need to use the attract repel. And this was exactly what we said going into this tournament as Arling, small victory, but a victory nonetheless, able to pick up the blue buff. And that is that STL, this is what you need to do. You need to get your LeBlanc, your Tristana ahead, because you need that assassination power. But to then see Jensen single-handedly pick up his third kill of the game here is going to have so much impact as we go into these later fights, because it means that LNG needs to be so much more careful when they step forward. Yeah. They need to be much more mindful of where Jensen is at every single time. And if Team Liquid are able to keep up the pressure, they're already up 2 Drakes, 1 more in 3 minutes, and I don't know if LNG is going to be ready to fight at that point, and they are in a prime position to keep a hold of this game.
It's been such a masterclass in terms of vision control on the bottom side of the map. I mean, they've had control wards around that Drake, they've cleared wards. I mean, those are the 2 that are there right now. That one that's in that brush next to the mid lane is why Jensen knew he could make that play. So now they're going to try to take some more of it away on the top side. I mean, their vision control has been fantastic. It makes it so difficult as LNG to play against this comp that has explosive damage.
Again, Alphari reads the play. You know, like everything that LNG does, as you point out, like it's immediately being read. Alphari says, no problem, I'll back off a little bit. I'm 12 CS up.
Can someone check the chat for Black Sheep Wall? Because I'm a little bit worried. TL just look unsurprised by every single map movement that LNG are making. Reading them absolutely like a book right now. Fantastic stuff. We do need to kind of temper this just a little bit though, because LNG's comp just works so synergistically with itself at any stage of the game, but especially as you go further forward, especially in things like 4-1s as tactical.
It's not what you want to take.
A lot of damage on Delight. The Buster Shot though, calculation off just a little bit.
No!
Oh, never mind! Subjugate for the kill!
And we got to call Light out here. This is not a fight you want to take 1v1. You don't have vision. You don't know where Santorin is. If anything hits you, or if you get stunned by anything, you get slowed by anything, you lose out in that exchange. You can't be taking fights like that. You're Ezreal versus a Tristana. A Kraken Slayer now on the Tristana, by the way.
Oh, Tarzan going to steal another one away, and I had to eat my words, man. I thought he was out of there, but no. Santorin already had that.
He had a Yuumi on him. We were
yeah, right.
Waiting for the
Power of Ignite, I guess.
Waiting for the Zoom.
Well, no, he didn't even have Ignite.
Subjugate normally doesn't do significant damage like that in my head, but it did here. Santorin's troll just hits different.
That's the Zoomies.
Zoomies, Miller,
calculated. Yeah. It's the minion combined with Subjugate.
Oh I don't think the minion attack actually really made much of a difference, but I liked it.
It was so close.
Oh, fantastic stuff.
That's the hero.
That one? I think that one wasn't even there yet. During the last play.
Well, I mean, look, you don't want to be taking that exchange. You don't want to be taking that fight, and he gets punished for it. And this is something that, you know, I talked about it in play-ins. We're talking about it here. Light has been caught out a lot of the time in weird exchanges like this where there's just no reason to actually trade like that.
And the key thing here is there is still a large margin of error for TL. They need to make sure, very nice Paler, I can hear Valdez cry of victory somewhere in the background. But do mind that a single overstep of a Team Liquid member is still enough to find a kill, right? The lockdown, the snowball in LNG, or that LNG has in team fights, is pivotal, but at the same time, if Team Liquid pick up this Drake, they're in a great spot.
Everywhere Tarzan goes, there's control wards. The Team Liquid have it now. He's out of position. The final chapter does come forward, and they do manage to get the pick onto CoreJJ. Great turnaround for LNG. As TL, they did have the information, but unfortunately it wasn't what they wanted, as Light now taking so much damage. Arcane Shift, but there's the rocket jump. Tactical not going to be able to follow underneath the turret. TL trying to answer back, don't find too much, but they do at least get the flash out of Tarzan. Possibly a target in the future. There's now possibly the first Drake for LNG.
Yeah, they are going to finally get their first Drake of the game here. Team Liquid's still getting a lot of value, though, with the second Herald on the top side of the map. It's going to be some inner turret gold here. And one of the other concerns for this Ezreal is obviously he ended up getting killed there in the 1v2 in mid.
Oh,
you can see how much damage he takes. Like, it's not even free to farm. It's not safe to farm as an Ezreal. Normally,
that's 3 turrets for a Drake.
Yeah, and normally as Ezreal too in these scenarios, you're like, well, I'm going to farm up later on. I'm going to be okay. But I guess if the minions are in your base, you can get some free farm here with all the damage done. But this Ezreal is coming online so slowly. The win conditions here for LNG are so delayed.
When Core went down, I was wondering, is it worth? As we now know, it was in fact not worth, or rather sacrificing Core worked out very well. As we see here in the X-Effect replay, Team Liquid are a little bit too trigger-happy. You can't walk into a choke point against a Yuumi like that, but with Santorin having a presence of mind to just immediately flash over, it's then this proactive play, yet again, coming through from Tactical, and even if he doesn't kill Light, it just, again, provides pressure for Alphari, because while we had been talking about what's happening on the bot side of the map, Alphari, without teleport available, made a play as Icon.
Yeah, there's the distort. Chains are going to connect onto Lissandra once again, taking a lot of damage. Mimic Chains come in as well. Holding his ground is Icon. Does have the Frozen Tomb, so wasn't too scared. But still, Jensen making sure that they cannot move forward. Another Chain's going to land as Light has to get out of there once again. The Ezreal, I mean, TL just saying, no, you're not allowed to play the game.
You can't farm, you can't get those minions. It's so difficult to play the game, as you mentioned. And all the while, Alphari is non-stop side laning. He helped set up that pressure on the top side to get that inner turret. Now he's set up for a second one here. They're making so many good macro plays. They force a teleport here defensively for nothing. I mean, it's so free here for Team Liquid, the amount of macro plays to make it across the map.
Also mind some of the itemization choices. Happy that Lwandy has gone for the Moonstone. We've seen Yuumi's go for a Ludens, even with double AP solo lanes, in which case the value really diminishes. On the same sort, Alphari going for the Maul, which, while in of itself, not the greatest of items, against the amount of AP damage that's coming out from LNG, I think still provides a fair amount of value. Also augmented by the quadruple Mercury threats that we see on TL. And
could be quintuple.
Yeah, could be the 5.
Yeah, there you go. And that's really good, not only against Tarzan, who of course can look for stuns or the root from Lwandy, but also diminishes so much of the impact that Icon is going to have.
No vision.
It might be the face check here. This Prowling Projectile is going to spot out the members of TL, but this is about as far as LNG can safely move out, right?
That's the problem. I mean, this has been a masterclass, like I mentioned before, of Team Liquid controlling vision. It just kind of continues here as LNG not only on the back foot with vision, but they have an Ezreal that can't really effectively farm or push out lanes. And there's only 8 CS behind right now, but the Ezreal needs to be able to soak up CS to get that second item online and finished. It's now getting towards that. And the third item hasn't even been started just yet. So Ezreal a little bit slowed down in this game, but when you don't have vision and Team Liquid have 2 strong side lanes and they're basically 1-3-1ing you with this composition with the Graves, you know, and a LeBlanc outside laning you, when you're the one who has a Gwen, you're the one who's got a Viego here, it just looks like LNG are not able to utilize this comp correctly because of that power they have in the Tristana.
Main thing here for LNG is that if you can somehow sneak away this next dragon, you buy yourself basically infinite amount of time. And that is where at some point, even with how well TL has been playing thus far, I don't think that Lissandra is going to have a big impact, but Ale, Tarzan, and Light, especially with bolstered by a Yuumi, are going to be able to still output insane amount of damage and come later in the game, still provide a lot of team fight threat. So as LNG, you try to maybe look for a situation where you can make that happen, but with how diligent Team Liquid have been in denying vision, making sure that there has been no availability for LNG to actually walk up, as you pointed out, Atlus, it should not be a possibility for LNG to contest this Drake in a minute, which would put Liquid on a sore point. And Ocean Soul against Yuumi, I think you'll take that. It'll even the score at least a little bit.
Yeah, we'll help you out in that sustained department. Not to mention the fact that they have a Trundle as well. It's going to be even more difficult to kill Santorin, even through things like Grievous Wounds, like King's Tribute, as well as Ocean Soul and Subjugate, is just too much. That's too much.
I think LNG is going to, at some point, reach a breaking point where they need to fight. And it looks like, just based on what we're seeing for them on the map right now, they have decided this is probably not going to be it on this third Drake here for Team Liquid. But at some point, you actually need to win a fight so you can take some vision back. You can also arguably avoid the fight, avoid the Drake here, and try to take some vision here on the top side of the map, but that isn't going to be very useful because you're not in a state where you can take a Baron right now, even though we are 23 minutes in the game. You don't have a really quick Baron clear time with this composition because you are running that Lissandra. So as LNG, you can avoid fighting Team Liquid because you don't have the vision to fight them around Drake, but at some point, you know, you're going to have to pay the piper here.
Well, Icon now trying to defend this inner turret. Doesn't quite find the Evercross as Jensen's going to dive on forward. The Claw of Doom comes out. Just back to the distortion. The turret is going to be taken here for TL. Now they can back off towards Soul Point.
It's traded. Ollie gets one on the top side. He might be able to get two. They can actually stop this from being shut down. I mean, this is actually a really nice macro position here for LNG for the first time in a long time. With all the wards they have to clear through here. It's insane. But look, they're going to get that inner turret on the top side.
And that's as good an answer as you're going to get. It's similar to what we saw Mad Lions do the last game, where you put the Gwen in the side lane. Also, Ale going for the Nash's build, which is going to be, in terms of 1v1, a really big upgrade as to what it provides DPS. But you're going to have the same damage and teamfight impact that something like the Death Cap could possibly have. And I like the fact that you go for a cross-map play, but that's all there is to like about it. Because still, TL is now on Soul Point, and we've seen how those can warp the game. Because now, as LNG, you're basically waiting for the perfect opportunity. Someone on TL stepping where they shouldn't step, getting blown up, and starting a fight from there. But if TL have the pressure, they can trade for Baron, be completely fine, right? If you give up a single Ocean Drake, you get Baron, who cares?
Yeah, and they also have so much Baron damage once Tactical has that third item online. It's another chain gonna land there. As the flash forward from CoreJJ finds everyone in the Magnet Storm. Now Tarzan trying to get himself out of there, but now Tactical's getting the resets, dodging the Mystic shots as Light is gonna have to get himself the heck out of there. He still has his flash, but they may not have a Baron on the map for much longer.
This is going to be, I mean, so easy to take. You took out the Baron damage with Tactical in this game. It's so easy to rush this one down, and there's nothing LNG can do about this, and they haven't had map control this entire game, and now it's just in the grave view right now, the tombstone in terms of what LNG is going to be able to see on the map. Ali sneaks this turret away, which is nice, but there's just nothing you've got in terms of how to fight now as Team Liquid. Unfortunately, I have to say, Tarzan's been invisible this game. He's 1-1 and 2. He didn't do anything in the early game. He hasn't been able to keep up with that vision control, and Team Liquid have been able to run around the map non-stop, threaten non-stop the Ezreal. Look at this engage from CoreJJ.
And again, it's Jensen that sets it up, but CoreJJ that knocks them down. The flash, the lack of restraint, and the actual willingness to go for such an aggressive play is so incredibly important, because this breaks the game open, right? Even if you now possibly lose, you should be able to at the very least get an inhibitor. You provide more side laning pressure. Alphari in this Red Bull power play, as we just saw, also picked up a red elixir, so he means business.
Yeah,
we're
finishing this game.
He's got his Surreal's grudge, and he might only have a single assist. You might think that Alphari hasn't been a part of this game, but I think that the pressure he's been providing in his side lane has been pivotal to what TL actually been able to do on the map.
Yes.
Now, what do you do as LNG?
I mean, you have to sit back and wait, but your composition isn't going to, it's not one that does well with that. I mean, you're not going to take a defensive fight here under turrets. And the longer you wait, the more Team Liquid is able to just say, well, I'm going to eventually threaten some inhibitors here. I mean, the Tristana, if she gets into range of that inhibitor turret, she'll blow it up so quickly, so you have to respond, and that's when that side lane pressure now from Jensen in the mid lane, Alphari's there with them, like, which one are you going to lose, LNG? Because you're going to lose one of these.
Well, maybe both, and that would be all three of the inhibitor turrets going down as Tarzan once again way too low. Hysterics is going to get popped. This could be the opportunity for TL to push all the way in. They've got a siege minion here. Make that two. That is going to be the inhibitor turret going down. I mean, LNG, yeah, they're waiting for mistakes. I don't think TL's made one all game, as now we've got the flanking teleport. Icon looking for his opportunity, gets right into the middle, hasn't pressed the R button, waits until the very last moment. Jensen distorts his way out. Icon uses his stopwatch, but it just doesn't mean anything. TL just wiped the floor with him. Yeah, CoreJJ's gone, but they've lost Icon. They've lost Tarzan.
I mean, Icon's ultimate there was so sad. It didn't feel like it even went off there. It didn't feel like it even happened. Had such a low impact. He's so far behind as LNG now. I mean, this game is all but over.
You gotta wait for the wave, but you still gotta respect the pressure that Yuumi puts out. Really nice pillar there. And we did see that. Like, you might see the low health. Wasn't big. Why doesn't TL go in? Because Ale is a level 16 Gwen with a Yuumi on top. You still need to respect it. You know how much sustain this damage can provide. At the same time, 2 inhibitors down in 1 minute. The soul point spawns for Team Liquid. And let me remind you of the stakes for this game. Mad Lions just lost. They're down. They only have a single win thus far. What does it mean if Team Liquid wins here?
I mean, Team Liquid potentially could be getting out of this group over Mad Lions, which would be massive. So you watch this fight again, look at Icon come from behind. Yes, he does set up for a big ultimate here, but the follow-up is so good from CoreJJ. The second he pops out, he comes in. And look at where Tactical is. He's at the front of this team fight. You think that Yuumi's attached to this Tristana with how much he can do and how little fear he has, but no, he's just going in and out by himself.
And instantly Buster shots Ale out of the fight as well. So the Gwen can't be that sticky monster that she can be in some of these team fights. And the rest of TL is able to play around Icon with that extra space. It was actually kind of heroic from Tactical frontlining on the Tristana. Really liked it as Ale now looking for a potential flank. Final chapter available very, very soon.
Look at the wave. Bot lane's pushing.
Yeah, they're on a timer. LNG, they need to start this one off. Now going to do it. Icon. Let's see whether the claw is going to work out here. Does put it down, gets right in there, but immediately takes way too much damage. Has to go into the frozen tomb. Is Santorin in a whole lot of trouble, but he's a tank. He's absolutely fine. It is going to be the Drake stolen away by Tarzan, but can they actually keep themselves alive? And I think the answer will be no as the Gwen falls down. Jensen might need to be a little bit more careful there, but now go teleports. We're finishing the game. Tarzan looks to try and cancel, but no, Graves is already in the base and he does so much damage. Now Tarzan's just trying to fight this one out as best he can. Will get stunned up by the chains, and there is a whole lot of craziness happening. They're just stopping the backs though, because this box shot will kill the Nexus, and TL will take down LNG, evening up their scorelines at 2-2.
An 8,000 gold lead at the end of the game there, but this was an outclassing across the map from Team Liquid. From the early to mid game, they had better control. Jensen made it look like that Lissandra was not even close to a counter pick. You can lock that one in all you want, getting several solo kills in the early game. Then, later on, they take that small advantage and turn it into massive vision control, taking early objectives, never overextending. And this is peak Team Liquid. This is what you want to see if you want this team to get out of the group.
The aggression from Liquid never faltered. There were a little bit of hiccups left and right, but it doesn't matter when you keep playing as confident as they have. And unfortunately for LNG, the misery of the LPL continues as LNG drop a pivotal game here because, let's not forget, with 2-2, their continued existence in this group is threatened.
Yeah, this is, I don't even know whether you can call it an upset, though. This is the thing that's ridiculous, because TL, they had complete control. They played beautiful League of Legends throughout that whole game. And LNG, they had a really cool composition. I really quite liked it. But
might be some licorice tweets posted around the internet after that one.
Yeah, I think we definitely need to take a short break. And when we get back, it will, of course, be Dash and the guys.